Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of The Great Mike Way. I'm your host, Broadway extraordinaire, Broadway promoter, and various other things associated with Broadway, Mike Callahan. Welcome. So this is going to be a preview episode, because what performance about Broadway isn't good without a preview? Am I right? I think I am. And so basically my impetus for this broadcast, or for this new show I'm gonna do on YouTube, is to talk Broadway with y'all, because having established a following across social media, mainly known for my Broadway stuff. So I figured I'd do a Facebook Live most of the time, twice a week, and people seem to love the Broadway when I talk about the Broadway. And so I figured, why not do a show dedicated to it? So this is The Great Mike Way. Hope you do enjoy it. So this week's episode, I'm rather going to be discussing a certain major event coming up on the Broadway world, the Tonys. So Tony Awards are, when this airs, it'll be 5 days away. This Sunday, July 10th, live from Radio City Music Hall, hosted by Josh Groban and Sarah Bareilles. And it's really been an interesting year on Broadway, in case you haven't noticed. In case in point, some of these nominees. You have your Broadway classics in the Best Revival of Musical category, with My Fair Lady, Carousel, and fan favorite Once on This Island. You have global franchises represented in the play category, of course, with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And then, of course, you have the timeless contemporary classic, Angels in America, for Best Revival. Then we get to Best New Musical, where you have your Broadway favorites, your David Yazbek's, David Yazbek's, David Cromer, Fans Visit. You have SpongeBob SquarePants, which is taking Broadway shockingly by storm. You have Frozen. You have Mean Girls, with Tina Fey making her Broadway debut as a book writer. It's been an insane year. And so it remains to be seen what's going to happen with Broadway. Here is my one great wide hope for this coming Tony Awards: that musicals do not get nominated by one or two shows. That it happened last year with Dear Evan Hansen. It happened the year before with Hamilton, where you just had one or two shows dominating the awards ceremony. This award season, much like last year, has the potential to spread out the wealth, so to speak, when it comes to the new musicals. Obviously, in categories regarding to the plays, you've essentially got a dogfight between Harry Potter and Angels in America, where they are nominated. But that doesn't mean that musical. In fact, it shouldn't mean that musicals are dominated by your Band's Visit or My Fair Lady or what have you. And honestly, don't think it will. So I want to break down a couple of the races. Disclaimer: I have not seen every new Broadway musical. I've seen two of the shows nominated for Best Musical. Those being Frozen. Those being Frozen and SpongeBob SquarePants. If there's ever a show that's going to win big between those two, it is going to be SpongeBob. And that's going to be an accomplishment for the team. You can look for Ethan Slater winning Best Actor. It's one of those categories where you have to watch out for My Fair Lady and Harry Piggott Smith as Alfred Doolittle, as Henry Higgins. Alfred Doolittle's what we're going to talk about in a bit. But in my mind's eye, you're going to have a first-time Tony winner, first-time nominee, Ethan Slater. With that win for SpongeBob, that's going to be able to carry the show. Case in point with Best Director and Best Actress. Those easily could go to Band's Visit for Katrina Lenk and David Cromer. Keep in mind, Cromer will have competition with Bart Scher, of course, as well as Jack O'Brien for his revival of Carousel, which was exceptionally well received, but more on that a little bit later. So, that said, Best Musical. Who do I think is going to win? I think whoever's presenting that Tony is going to open the envelope and read a name that, when announced, we did not expect to win Best Musical, much less be a contender this year. And of course, I'm talking about SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants, in my mind's eye, is going to win Best Musical, and it's everything going for it. It's gonna tour. It's gonna have a very successful tour life with families flocking to see the show. Whereas Band's Visit, while having had announced a tour, I don't feel is going to be necessarily a seller in regards to houses across America. Obviously, sales-wise, Band's Visit has been doing a tad bit well, but I feel that Best Musical is for SpongeBob to lose, and I don't think it is. Same case with Best Revival of Musical. I know we get tired of Lincoln Center seemingly constantly winning Best Revival whenever it's been in the category with South Pacific and King and I, but I feel that we see My Fair Lady win Best Revival. However, Best Revival is going to be an interesting category this year, in that you have Carousel, an American classic that has generated so much buzz, as well as Once on This Island, again, has been doing remarkably well. It sells well. People are familiar with the title Once on This Island in a sense. But in the end, I feel My Fair Lady wins. That's not to say that Once on This Island and or Carousel gets robbed. There's a growing consensus that Justin Peck will win his first ever Tony for his choreography of Carousel. And who knows? Once on This Island could win Best Scenic Design. Or shock everybody and win Best Actress, though it looks like Katrina Lenk from Band's Visit could very well win that award. So, that said, discuss Best Play. It's going to be Harry Potter, folks. I know, it's a title that doesn't need the award, but given everything on Broadway, it's going to win. Same with Angels in America. It's between that and Iceman Cometh. They're the only two shows that remain on Broadway that could still sell through the summer months. Angels in America, while possibly not being able to tour, still you have commercial viability in that. That's a National Theater production, which was filmed. Mind you, Denzel could do the same he did with Fences and film Iceman Cometh, though I doubt we see that as Iceman Cometh is rather a long show to film. But that being said, I think we see plays becoming the Harry Potter and Angels in America show. What is going to be interesting is seeing the acting categories. Obviously, with Best Actress, you have Glenda Jackson and Three Tall Women. That seems to be the runaway odds-on favorite to win Best Actress in a Play. Best Actor in a Musical? Interesting. where you have Andrew Garfield, you have Jamie Parker, you have Denzel. Any three of those guys could potentially win. Best feature actor, you have Nathan Lane in Angels in America, which everybody feels should be a favorite. Keep in mind, Nathan Lane's won before. Someone like Anthony Doyle from Harry Potter and the Cursed Child could easily come behind this Broadway veteran and win. It will be very interesting. But not this week's Too Darn Hot Take of the Week. My Too Darn Hot Take of the week comes to the category of Best Score for a Musical. Obviously, you have David Yazbek for The Band's Visit, which everyone said, oh, he's a Tony darling, he's gonna win. But there remains two dark horses in that category. And those being the musical team behind SpongeBob SquarePants. I'm not going to name them all because that'd be a whole new episode unto itself. And don't count out the Lopez's. Same thing happened with the Oscars last year, where we said Pasek and Paul are going to win. Pasek and Paul are going to win. Pasek and Paul are going to win. And the envelope opened, and it was Robert Lopez. And he and his wife have gone in and contributed new songs to Frozen, songs that stuck in my head. And so, Best Original Score could very well be the award that Tony voters award to Frozen. And that is my hot take of the Too Darn Hot Take of the week. We'll find out next week if that was correct. I doubt it will be, but remains to be seen. It's one of the Best Original Score remains an intriguing category, and really all eyes are going to be on it when it comes up Sunday evening. Best Book for a Musical. Mean Girls actually tied SpongeBob with the best nominations. Whereas SpongeBob has the potential, as I've discussed, to win many of these nominations, Mean Girls, not much. However, if ever there's a bankable name that could win a Tony and will win a Tony, in my humble opinion, for Mean Girls, it's Tina Fey. And Tina Fey is up for Best Book for Musical. And Tina Fey very well could win Best Book of a Musical. In fact, I'm rather counting on it. Because with that win for Tina Fey, you have her promoting the fact that she's a Tony winner. You see Mean Girls, which is still selling exceptionally well. And the show enjoying quite a comfortable life here on Broadway. Again, remains to be seen, but both the consensus from people from the Times and everyone is that the category is Tina Fey to lose. And I don't think she is. So, best featured actor in a musical also remains an interesting race. You have John Cariani, Ariel Stachel from The Band's Visit. You have Norbert Leo Butz from My Fair Lady. You have Gavin Lee from SpongeBob SquarePants. I think the Tony voters are content giving only one acting category to SpongeBob, that being Ethan Slater, who really carries that show. Gavin Lee, to his credit, much to his credit, is an amazing performer, but really is recognized in the show for one moment. Band's Visit, I have not seen either of those performances. I've heard nothing but incredible things. Which brings me to Norbert Leo Butz. And my prediction that Norbert Leo Butz is indeed going to win Best Featured Actor in a Musical. The role of Alfred Doolittle is a beloved role. And based off critical reception, in the end, my logic tells me it's Norbert's. Could he lose to one of the guys from Band's Visit? Highly likely. Will he win? Remains to be seen on Sunday. Alright. So, with that discussed, I have a couple of other predictions I want to make in regards to what's going to happen on Tony Sunday. It's going to be really interesting watching performance vets like Sarah Bareilles, who, interestingly enough, should SpongeBob win, people forget this, she would have technically won a Tony. And Josh Groban, who was nominated last season for Best Actor in a Musical for Great Comet of 1812. If there are any two performers that people are excited about, that it's going to mean ratings for the Tonys this year, it's Josh Groban and Sarah Bareilles. And furthermore, it is in my opinion, I feel that they're going to make these Tonys more exciting than ever. Of course, you have all these categories, which could go any which way. But I feel the hosts are going to make the show so interesting. You have Sarah Bareilles, who's coming off success of Waitress, SpongeBob, as previously mentioned. And let's not forget Jesus Christ Superstar Live, whose star, John Legend, also Tony nominee for SpongeBob SquarePants. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we see John Legend appear in the opening number, because you know there's going to be an opening number. You have two incredible singers. And I feel John Legend might even poke fun of it at himself in Jesus Christ Superstar Live. But something's going to happen. I feel John Legend is going to appear some form or another. Also, another prediction that I have leading up is there's going to be one show that's going to give a performance number that's going to drive up sales. That one show very well could be Mean Girls. Who knows? Mean Girls has had some incredible performances, so has Frozen, but there's going to be a show that does not win Best Musical that's going to give an incredible performance and drive up sales. Now those two are given, which leads me to my Broadway bold prediction of the week. And it has nothing to do with the show on Broadway this season. It has nothing to do with a show from Broadway last season. It has to do with the show that very likely could be coming to Broadway next season. If you look closely, there are three people getting three high-profile stars getting Tony Awards for excellence. That being Bruce Springsteen for his Springsteen on Broadway, Chita Rivera, and last but certainly not least, Andrew Lloyd Webber. If we know anything about Andrew Lloyd Webber, it's that he loves hyping his productions. 2 seasons ago saw our first inclination that Sunset Boulevard was coming to Broadway, which it did. Well, time again for Andrew Lloyd Webber to announce that there's a show coming to Broadway. One of his shows is coming to Broadway, and it's not Evita. It's not Jesus Christ Superstar. It's making its Broadway debut next season. A show that, for lack of a better word, will not die. I'm talking about Love Never Dies, folks. The wheels have already been set. Where you have, regrettably, news coming in this past Wednesday that Escape to Margaritaville, first new Broadway musical casualty of this quote-unquote Tony season, it will be leaving its theater July 1st. I feel you have a limited run, possibly The Illusionist, possibly a new act coming in say, September, October through November, December. And then around the 31st anniversary of Phantom, Love Never Dies opens on Broadway. This next season is looking even more unpredictable than this season, where you have set shows like King Kong, Pretty Woman, getting the band back together, coming in for possibly Moulin Rouge, coming in for a new musical, possibly The Sting coming in for a new musical. The time is right for Andrew Lloyd Webber to introduce a show to Broadway that has endured so much ever since opening in London to scathing reviews and seeing various iterations around the globe, that perhaps success can be found in the Broadway run of Love Never Dies, and I believe it will. The way the season's looking, you have the Cher Show. I forgot about Cher Show. That's coming to Broadway. So you have one show that is out of the running for best score. It remains to be seen how the score will be for Getting the Band Back Together, for Pretty Woman with Bryan Adams, so I've heard great things, for King Kong, which has undergone 2 or 3 creative team changes. We've listened to the music of Love Never Dies. Love Never Dies' score has its fans, despite what theater fans would have you believe. That being said, I feel that the 2018-2019 season is Love Never Dies season to come to Broadway and perhaps cause a stir. I realize that early reports of this show coming to Broadway suggest a limited run. So much can change about a limited run. But my Broadway bold prediction of the week is this time next week, we know Love Never Dies is coming to Broadway. Alright, so this concludes our preview episode of The Great Mike Way. Feel free to comment below. Send me your questions via Twitter at Big Mike Callanan. And tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like. Again, this is a preview episode. A lot of great things coming, I hope, with this show to YouTube. And so until next week, this is Big Mike signing out. Ghost light lighting on. Peace.